So what is polyphony? Especially when compared to something that's monophonic or paraphonic. Well, polyphony means that when you hit each note independently, each of those notes start and end based on that key press, and they each have their own filter opening and closing, they each have their own amp opening and closing. Each note is its own independent thing. But in the early days, synthesizers like the Moog Mini Moog, which this Behringer Poly D is based off of, it only could play one note at a time. It only had one amp, it only had one filter, and when you played a different note, then all of it jumped to the other note. You couldn't hold a chord. It's like this. I simply can't play a chord. But the cool thing is it lets you riff really quickly because you can't play notes over yourself. So you can get this kind of. So it has its benefits. But if you want to start playing chords on a monophonic synthesizer, on a synth that only has one filter, one amp, and the envelopes for them, then one of the tricks you could do is change the pitches of the oscillators to make a chord, but that's not polyphony or paraphony. That's still monophony, but with different oscillator pitches. So. So the next thing you can do, after I set everything back to unison, is go into a different mode. Now they have a mode here called Poly. I would argue it's more paraphony than polyphony, but the differences are getting closer. But still, even though we have 4 oscillators, they're all going into a mixer that's summing it all to one. That signal is going through a single filter. The output of that filter is going through a single amp. So even though I'm in a paraphonic mode, and it's very cool that you can do that with your monophonic synth, but notice that when I hold a note down, if any of the notes are still held, all the other notes are going to be held. Why? Because there's only one amplifier and it's open, right? So it's still there till I let go. So they came up with a mode called auto damp, and basically what that does is help shut the oscillators off that you're not playing. So you can simulate polyphony more, but it's still not. And how can you tell the difference? Well, let's say we're making the filter very extreme, right? Now you're really going to hear that every time I add another note, that filter, of which there's only one, gets triggered again. So you're hearing all of the notes getting a filter because the only one filter is going. It's not perfect, but it really is a very cool way to all of a sudden have 4 notes that you can control independently. Now on this Poly D, they have a mode called unison, and what it does is it lets all the oscillators jump to one key until you play more than one key, and then it slowly splits them up. So you get that nice fat chorusing. I'm going to ease the filter up again. And then as I add more notes, those oscillators are going to peel off onto the new keys that I press. And because I'm in the auto damp mode, it's turning off the ones I let go. It's like a step closer to polyphony, but it's still paraphony. Anyway, I hope that helps you with the understanding of the definition between polyphony and monophony and paraphony. If you're interested in more of these audio terms, go to sweetwater.com and check out our news and research page. My name is Daniel Fisher. Thank you very much for watching.